Heroin, cocaine, methamphetamine, opioids, and alcohol. I have watched all 5 of these substances destroy lives. I have watched all 5 of these things destroy families. I have watched all 5 of these things take lives. And finally, I've seen all 5 of these things absolutely shape an entire generation. You see, my neighborhood was the stage. These substances were the puppeteers, and unfortunately, those around me, my family, my neighbors, my friends, and myself, we were the puppets. What's even more unfortunate and tragic is that this story is not unique in any way. This story can be told in an infinite number of ways all across the United States. As Americans, need to stop looking at drug addiction as some sort of crime. We need to look at it for what it is, a sickness. And we need to treat those who were incarcerated as addicts and get them help. You see, in 2018, the National Institution of Drug Abuse wrote an article titled, "How Effective is Drug Treatment?" Out of all the myriad of statements, one stood out to me the most, in the case of heroin. You see, when you're sick and you're addicted to heroin, you become incredibly desperate when you don't have it in your system. You start going through withdrawals, and you're more willing to become desperate, and the more desperate you are, the more willing you are to commit a crime. Well, with proper drug treatment and rehabilitation, they can be put on methadone, or Suboxone, or any other sort, which helps alleviate the withdrawals, and helps wean those who are addicted off of heroin and become clean. Proper drug treatment can reduce prison population and drug crime. So, at first, we need to identify what the problem is. Why do people become addicted? Then, we need to go over what can be done, or how many people are in the prison population today, and how many of them are addicted. Then, we need to talk about the solution. How to rehabilitate these people and get them back into society and back into their family's arms. So, with that, there are many factors that can lead someone to addiction, such as the environment around you. You see, in 2017, the Mayo Clinic published an article titled "Drug Addiction, Substance Abuse Disorder," and they list several things: family, peers, and your local attitude. These 3 things, along with a myriad of others, can be possible starters for those becoming addicted. The second, I think it's important to hear from those who are afflicted with this addiction from out of their mouths. So, Recovery Center of America wrote an article in 2020 called "Living Recovery: True Stories of Addiction." The first one is from Gina. She was 13 years old when she started heroin. It took her 20 years to get clean, and she only started to fit in and to be cool. The second is Jules. She was an alcoholic. She started drinking for fun. She started drinking when she was 15 years old, and she didn't get help until she was 22. Next, we're going to talk about what it's like to be a prison. What are the statistics behind being in the federal prison system, and then what it's like to be hurt in the prison system. So, in 2017, the Council of State Government, Drug Abuse in the United States Incarceration, they tell us that there are over 175,000 inmates alone inside the federal prison system. Not the state, not local, just the federal prison system. And out of the 175,000 inmates in the federal prison system, over 81,000 are addicted. That's 46%. 95% of them do not receive treatment. And thus, without treatment, they're more likely to reoffend. And if you don't think that's a huge problem or it's always been like that, that's completely not true. You see, in 1978, there were 4,750 inmates in the federal prison system who were addicted to drugs or convicted with a drug-related crime. Today, there are over 98,000. Drug addiction is real. And if you're an inmate inside prison, life isn't pretty. Life isn't good. In 2016, Mike.com wrote an article titled, "This is what it looks like to be addicted to drugs in prison." They interviewed a former inmate named Mike Hawkins. Hawkins wrote about that he was in fear, constant fear. He had to hide his addictions inside the prison, in fear that the fellow inmates would extort him and use him for sex. And then he dispels the myth that drugs are completely unavailable in prison, when they are. And drugs are so readily available that those who are addicted often continue their drug habits inside of prison. So, what can be done to fix it? What are some of the economic values behind fixing and reforming our prison, how we treat those addicted? Well, in 2021, the Dual Diagnosis Organization wrote an article said, instead of prison, drug rehab could save billions. They estimate that if only 10 to 15% of those who are addicted got help today inside the entire United States prison system, that they would save over $48 billion. Let that sink in. $48 billion instead of just letting these drug addicts run free and recommit crime and get help. Not only would it help that way, it would create more jobs in the medical field, and it would help the workforce grow by having those who cannot work due to their addictions begin to be able to get low-level, medium-level, and possibly even high-level jobs in the future. And alcohol and rehab does work. You see, in 2017, Alcohol Rehab Headquarters has an article titled Success Stories. They write of a few, and I'm going to repeat them to you. Heather, in 2008, wrote, Since rehab, she's back at home living with her parents and she has a good relationship. The second one comes from Barbara. Barbara's a 46-year-old woman. She wrote about this in 2015. Her kids wrote that they're finally they're happy to have their mom back, and they had a wonderful Thanksgiving. You see, drug addiction is incredibly real, and without any help, they're going to remain the way they are, and addicted. So, I told you about why somebody might become addicted to drugs. I told you about why drug addiction what being a drug addict is like in the federal prison system and in the prison system as a whole. And then I told you some of the quick possible solutions. So, with that, remember, when you see somebody who's addicted to drugs, understand that a little bit of humility goes a long way. Treat them with kindness and treat them better. Because without that, then that's it. Because we sure know that the federal government doesn't seem to care about them or go about wanting to treat them. Thank you.